You join me at the very southwestern tip of Cornwall today. It is so good to be back here. I've been here many times with the SIB in the past, and the fishing is always pretty spectacular. And I'm back down here today with a smaller SIB than what I'm used to fishing here. So there's going to be a limiting factor in that regard. But the weather's not too bad, and well, I'm hoping we can get out onto some nice bits of reef and fish it hard with some jigs and soft plastics, because there is a real wide abundance of species that can be had here. Well, it's certainly a lot easier when there's two of you carrying it down. Boat is all set up, ready to go, and there's a few additions to the last time I was out on this. Most noticeably, this great big lump of engine on the back there. That's a Tohatsu 20 horsepower 4-stroke, and I've actually had that engine before. This one's brand new. It's still being ran in actually, and you might think that it looks a bit big on the back of that SIB, and I would agree with you, but it's actually rated to 20 horsepower plus 5 people. There's going to be 2 of us today, so we're well within the weight restrictions, and well, having that much power on a light boat is going to be, well, fun to say the least, but it also means that we're going to have no problem pushing against the strong tides that we have down here. I've also got a fish finder unit. Finally, I've got a fish finder set up on here. It's a Garmin Striker 9. I'll talk about it more later, but overall looking in pretty good shape for a day's fishing on the water. You can see here that it's fairly calm in the bay, but there is a bit of a breeze building, pushing offshore, which is quite nice because it means that we can hug in close if the wind picks up and it's uncomfortable, and then we'll find a bit of shelter. Hoping to fish mainly with lures today, but we have got gear if we've got to switch to fishing a bit closer in with bait on the drift. I'm just excited to get out there, so I'm going to stop waffling. Well, that is a really nice leisurely cruise out with 20 horsepower, quarter throttle, and we're already up on the plate. That's 2 of us, so yeah, very little fuel consumption, nice and quiet. It's just easy. Conditions, they aren't the worst I've seen, but there is a building wind pushing offshore, which with this SIB being a flat hull boat, it's not great because it doesn't like windsea very much. We just have to go really slow, that's all. But we have got out onto some of the reef now, and well, the conditions are alright for the minute, but if it picks up as the day goes on, we just go closer in. That's how it is. Alright, I'm just going to talk you through what I think is a really good setup for fishing from a SIB in these sort of environments. I've got an 8-foot lure rod here, which can fish 150 grams vertically quite comfortably, head up with a Van Stoll 30-pound braid. This is quite a sort of standard setup for me to use in deeper water on lures. I got a nice long fluorocarbon rubbing leader, again really important when you're fishing on rough ground. It'll save your lures, it'll save your braid from getting frayed up. And then this, in my opinion, is probably one of the best lures that you can use at a venue like this. This is a fish black minnow, as you might recognise, but this is the number 5, so quite a big body and a really heavy head. I believe this head is somewhere around 120 grams. So it will get down there. We're in 50 meters of water right now, and that will get down there quite quick. And there's a lot of tide here, and it can be quite hard to fish a jig vertically when there's tide moving in all sorts of different directions, as your line isn't actually vertical, it's all over the place. Whereas this black minnow, when I drop it down there, as soon as it gets to the bottom, I'll just start winding it up slowly, and it's working all the time with that paddle tail. It doesn't matter if my line is all the way out the back, directly beneath me, it doesn't matter. That lure is still going to be working well. Sure, I don't quite have the same finesse and sensitivity as I would if it's vertical, but I still got a good chance of a fish. And this is the sort of ground that we're fishing over here. It's 50 meters and it's sort of broken ground. It's not huge jagged reef, but there is a bit of structure down there, so having that weedless hook system really helps. It just avoids a couple of snags, you know. I like using slow pitch jigs out here, but I do find that they snag up very quickly on the reef. So I'm just letting it hit down to the bottom. It doesn't take very long, even though we're in 50 meters, it doesn't take very long at all with that head. And I'm just winding it in at a moderate speed, trying to get it about 5 meters up, and then dropping it back down again, and then just repeating that process, feeling for bites all the time, and they'll come soon. guys, I don't know how good this footage is going to be because of the sun, but into a nice fish already. First drift, and the wind's just picked up just like that. Like as soon as we got out here, the wind's picked up, and it's just typical, isn't it? But we'll get a drift or two in here, bag up some fish, and then head in. I think this is a nice pollock. Yes, it is. It's a slab of a pollock. Wow, I haven't had a fish like this in a while. Yeah. Look at that. That's why we come out here. I mean, that might not be a huge pollock in everyone's books, but on a SIB, Mark's in there, I think. And yeah, just so much fun on the light lure gear, smashing black minnows. Happy days. Get this one back. Well, here we go. This is a really nice example of a ballan wrasse here. Look at the colours on it. Those blues. They are just so stunning, these fish. I mean, doesn't get any better than that, does it? They really are abundant here, and really obliging on the lures. You just have to hope it doesn't mess up your soft plastic too much. So yeah, plenty more of these to come, hopefully. Ballan wrasse. Look at that for a wrasse. It's like a koi carp, the colours on it. Insane, isn't it? That is just such a beautiful fish. So Mark's just pulled in this ballan wrasse here. It's not a particularly big one, but just look at the tail there. I've never seen one like that, where it's dull colours along the body and then the tail is this sort of iridescent turquoise blue. That is just incredible, isn't it? Alright, well, we're just beating back in towards the shore here, and this boat being flat hold, it doesn't perform particularly well in confused sea. That's what we've got right now. I'll just show you. We've got the tide going against the wind, and it just creates this nasty surface chop, and the way to get through it is just keep the bow nice and high, use the engine power where you're sort of just before you're on the plane, sort of, but engine's digging in, keeping the bow high, and we've got both of us sat back here, keeping the weight in the back, just pushing that bow up, because there's no keels to dig through, so we just sort of bounce over the top, and if I was going too slow or too fast, we'd be ploughing into the waves and taking a lot of water over the side. But we're making decent ground here. We're doing about 6 or 7 knots, and just getting in a bit closer towards the land and find a bit of shelter. Well, the wind has really picked up now from the north, so come in a bit into the shelter of the bay here, and yeah, it's quite nice in here actually. And what I'm going to do is drop down some sabikis, little tiny sort of flashy hooks, and try and get some mackerel or launce, some sort of fish that I can use for bait, and then drift along the bay on the clean ground and try and pick up some more species. So that's the sort of play for the next few hours, I think, whilst the wind's up. Right, well, this is a good example of teamwork. So I've just feathered up some launce and mackerel for live bait, and then Mark's gone to the cafe and grabbed me a bacon sandwich. So now we're fishing away here at anchor, on the drift, on some clean ground, just whilst the wind's up. Alright, here we are on the clean ground, and I have hooked into what I think is quite a nice turbot here. Just drifting in close, and yeah, that is quite a nice turbot. There we go. On the mackerel sliver, that is a fine Cornish turbot. Don't see many of them, but you know, when it's a bit too blowy to fish out on the reef, it's good fun to come in and have a go on these. He's a little bit too small for the table, this one. They are good eating, but yeah, I'll get him unhooked and get him back. You can see there, that's a perfect hookup on the mackerel belly. Beautiful fish to catch turbot. I really do love them. But yeah, just on a little sliver of mackerel, just like that. And that is a fine flatty, isn't it? Hopefully it's a little bit bigger. All right, there we go. Let's put him back. Well, so far today we've spent a lot of time hiding from the wind, which has just been so much stronger than what it was forecast to be. Yeah, it's a shame, but we've still had some good fish, and now it does look like it's clearing up. The wind's dropped off, the sun's out nice, and got another 3 or 4 hours of light, so we're going to push back out onto some deep reef and go back at it with the lures, and yeah, just try and get a few more decent fish in before the end of the day. Lately I haven't been using many electronic aids for my SIB fishing, just because I've been fishing ground that I know pretty well, and it's usually quite shallow, so it's a bit easier to work out by eye. But out here it really does help to have something to show you what you're fishing over, and I'll just show you quick what I'm using. This is the setup here, and excuse all the filth there from bait fishing. It really is a filthy activity, bait fishing. This is a Garmin Striker 9. I really like the Garmin Striker units. They're just good value for money in my opinion. So that's what this is here on a battery box, and with a nice 3D printed sunshade, so I can see the depth of water that I'm in, and also I can see that we're over fairly flat ground here. It's probably quite sandy. Then I also have my phone there with navionics, really useful as well, just to see the sort of forecast of what we're going to be coming up to on the drift. So yeah, that is a good little combination right there. I mean, you could get a fish finder sonar unit with the chart plotter built in, but I like using navionics. That's just what works for me. All right, into a fish in a bit of deeper water here, just coming off a bit of reef, and it's just dropped away to like 50 meters, and yeah, I got hit nice on the black minnow. There's no one else out right now, just us on this whole reef system. The winds sort of back right off, and it's just allowed us to get out here and fish it just how we want with lures, which is ideal, because earlier it was just too windy. I'm not really sure what this is, but it feels like a pretty heavy fish. Could just be a big lump of a pollock, but a bit of weight to it. You even see on the fish finder actually that it's coming up to the surface. Is that a ling? I think that's a ling. Oh no, it's a pollock.
Massive pollock.
Really big pollock. There's a donkey pollock. Wow. That one's old. It almost took the hook there. This one's been through the wars a bit. Don't worry, I'm going to put him back. Ah, just look at that. Huge pollock. Huge pollock. Engulfed that black minnow. Came up for it. That's a good fish right there, guys. Very happy with that, and I'm actually just gonna pop that hook out like that, and then I'm gonna slide him straight back in. That is good stuff. All right, we've come into the shallower water here, just because it's sort of the spot where you can sometimes pull out fish on lighter gear with a bit of fun, and I think I've just foul hooked this pollock. Yeah, I have. Fortunately, it's just foul hooked. Obviously, you don't really know sometimes if it's foul hooked or bigger fish, because they don't have fight a lot harder. But this is the sort of average stamper pollock that we're catching here. We're only in 15 meters of water, so not much, and there's a lot of these pollock here. Good fun on the light gear. I just wanted to show you the power of the tide at this spot. Look at that. So this is not a shallow bit of water at all. We're in 50 meters, and look at all of that turbulence on the surface. If you are going to come out here, it really does pay to have a decent engine behind you, because that is a lot of current there, and yeah, if you're underpowered, you're going to struggle. Yeah, quite an interesting phenomenon, that, isn't it? All that disturbance just from the reef. This is really one of my favourite launch venues, the cove here, because even though the slipway is a real killer, especially lifting the outboard up and down it, it's really convenient having the parking right there, and then this nice sheltered launch area there, and you've just got access to really deep water marks, like within half a mile of the shore here, and then nice clean ground over in the bay. It just offers a real wide range of fishing, and yeah, it's really quite accessible to anyone really. So yeah, a little bit of appreciation towards Sennin Cove. Do like coming down here. It's been so long since I have, but it's always worth it, always worth coming down here. Alright, here we are back on shore after what has been a mammoth SIB fishing session here, and it's been a good one. So many species actually. I think the tally is 7 species for today. I might not have shown them all on camera, but I think that's pretty good going, and you know, a decent stamp of fish all round, considering we're fishing quite light on lures. So yeah, it's really nice to be back down here. Hopefully you found this video interesting and you've learned a bit, and you can also see how cheap lightweight SIB can actually perform all right, you know, in these sort of scenarios. That 20 horsepower, what a wicked bit of kit that is. So happy to have one of those again. It is just a machine that just, yeah, it really does get you out there with, and it fills you with confidence as well. And I use hardly any fuel, like 5 litres of fuel, so nothing at all. I'm really happy with how the Garmin fish finder unit is performing there. That was nice to have some sort of optics on the bottom there again, after not having on for such a long time. Enough of that. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and comment. I do read all the comments, and I do appreciate all the support. It means a lot to me, and hopefully be back out again on the SIB or on the coast somewhere very soon. Cheers, see you on the next one.